Hello comrades, you're watching RedIvanAirsoft and today we'll talk about the Vietnam era Lurp loadout. So Lurp or LRRP stands for Long Range Reconnaissance Patrol. First Lurp platoon was formed in 101st Airborne Division in December of 1965. By 1967, every infantry brigade or division had its own Lurp unit, and in February of 1969, all Lurp units were folded into the 75th Infantry Regiment, so Lurps became Rangers. In this video we'll talk about their camouflages and equipment, however this video will also be useful for people who are building regular infantry loadout, because in 60s there was no difference between regular infantry webbing and something for special operations. So Lurps used regular infantry webbing. Sometimes they use something that they captured from the enemy or something self-made, like this stubbo harness that you see on the picture, which was designed by Sergeant Clifford L. Roberts and produced since around 1969. But we will begin this conversation with uniforms. And as most of you know, during the Vietnam War, United States troops used utility and jungle uniforms in color called OG-107. However, the necessity for camouflages was always there. So United States advisors who were in the area way earlier than the full-scale United States engagement in the conflict used commercial camouflage called Duck Hunter, and also its South Korean versions. But the most iconic and popular camouflage of the beginning and middle of the Vietnam War was Tiger Stripe. Tiger Stripe is the South Vietnamese camouflage based on the French lizard. And it was produced by some big companies and small tailors in South Vietnam, South Korea and Thailand. So there were so many different uniform cuts and camouflage patterns. So Richard Johnson wrote the book about them, where he divided them into tadpole, zigzag, John Wayne and many others. Before I used Tiger Stripe uniform made by TrueSpec. However, there were two issues with it. It's made in the BDU cut, which is not correct for the Vietnam era. And second issue is that for some reason TrueSpec decided to print their logo into the camouflage pattern. So it reduces all the historical accuracy. That's why now I use this tadpole Tiger Stripe reproduction made by some Asian company called Dragon, made in iconical cut with first aid pocket on the shoulder and on the trousers. Also, since Tiger Stripe was originally developed for Vietnamese troops, sleeves should be short for American guys, if not altered. Our next camouflage is ERDL. It was developed in 1948 and trialed in Vietnam since 1966 by Lurp units of 101st Airborne Division. There were two types of this camouflage, lowland and the highland. For some time both camouflages could be seen side by side, with Tiger Stripe being more popular. However, since the beginning of the 70s, the ERDL became the dominant one. Now a couple words about hats. And the most iconic one would be bunny hat in Tiger Stripe pattern, like mine. And also some bandanas could be used. However, this was not the most popular way, despite the cinema cliche. Next step is belt. This is regular army trousers belt, which was in use since the Second World War. However, during the Second World War the color was brownish or khaki, while during the Vietnam War it was olive. Some socks, more you have better it is, and some green shirt. They were used all the way till 90s. And we came all the way to the load carrying equipment. And just to remind you guys, we are talking about the US Army Lurps and Rangers, so we will not discuss the Marines load carrying equipment, which was slightly different and less successful. So later on even Marines began to use Army webbing gear. And talking about army load carrying equipment, there were three types of it. Canvas m1956, its modification of 1961st, which was still considered m1956 and called m1956. However, it had some minor differences, which we will discuss in a few. And finally, m1967, made of nylon and appeared in Vietnam in around 1968. And it didn't displace the m1956, so all three types of gear could be seen mixed with each other all the way till the end of the war. So now let's jump right into it, and we'll begin this conversation with the pistol belt. This is the basic m1956 pistol belt made of canvas. This is the first type because of these horizontal waves. The second type of 1961st would have vertical waves, and around 1961st the experimental Davis buckle came out. M1967 belt was pretty similar to the second pattern of M1956, but made of nylon, and it could be seen with both butterfly buckle and Davis buckle. Next step is suspenders. This is the version of 1961st. It has two hooks in front and two clamps on the back. The first type of M1956 should have only hooks on all sides. Now you see the M1967 model made of nylon. Next step is our first aid pouch / compass pouch. This is also the version of 1961st. It's made of canvas. The M1956 model would be exactly the same, but without this edging on the side. And version of 1967 is also pretty similar, but made of nylon. So next are our canteen covers. This is the earlier version, this is the later version. The earlier version was made in 1956, and it has this canvas edging, while the later version was made not in 1961st, but in 1966, and it has the nylon edging, the nylon version of M1967. And we came all the way to the butt packs. Lurps did not use them often. I actually saw only two pictures of them in use. This is the version of 1961st. The version of 1956 is slightly smaller and more like square shape. And now on the screen you see the nylon version of M1967. Canteens, these are plastic canteens. These are modern production, but they are pretty similar to what you would see in the Vietnam. I have only two, better to have more, but again, for the airsoft, this is more than enough. For the reenactment or something, you would probably better have 6 or so. Next step is pistol, and Lurps did not use them too often because they add extra weight to the load. However, it is really a matter of preference. I saw some pictures of Lurp with pistols, and I personally prefer to have one. This is regular M1911 Airsoft replica made by KG Works, nothing special about it. And this is the reproduction of the Vietnam era M1916 holster, which is really cool, and it is made in black color for Vietnam era rather than the brown for the Second World War. Of course, for pistols you also need some spare mags, so this is the mag pouch for them, M1956 pistol mag pouch. Nothing special about it as well. It is basically the same style like the Second World War pistol mag pouch, with the only exception of new clamps for the M1956 attachment system. And another thing is that to make my airsoft magazines fit in it, I removed this button and move it a little bit forward, and then stitched the hole that came out after that. Next step is our angle light made by GT Price, and this is the correct Vietnam era angle light without fencing. The light with fencing, like you see on the picture right now, appeared after the Vietnam War. Since my weapon of choice is an AK, I use this captured Chinese Chicom, which were used not only with an AK magazines, but also with M16 30 rounders, which appeared in Vietnam in limited capacities in around 1969. Correct Chinese Chicom should have Chinese markings on it. If you use M16 or CAR-15, you will also need some mag pouches, and there were few of them. First one was developed in 1956 and was made for both M16 and M14 magazines. It was made of canvas and had some plastic insert to keep shape. Second one, the model of 1961 was pretty similar to this one, but without this plastic insert. Third model was made in around 1968, if I'm not mistaken, and it was made exclusively for the M16 20 round mags. And the later version of m1957 was pretty similar to the previous model, but made of nylon for the 20 rounders. If mag pouches are not enough for you, you can also use some bandoliers or claymore bag, which was used not only for the claymore mines, but to hold some magazines. And this one can carry 8 AK magazines, which is a lot. Next step is our poncho. Poncho was mostly used as a half shelter rather than the raincoat, but we have it for both purposes and it's cool. Lurps did not use helmets, because try to run with this steel pot on your head for a few days and you will see the result. However, just for the guys who are building their regular infantry loadout watching this video, this is Vietnam era M1C helmet. The liner should be like this. For the regular M1 it would be pretty similar, but without these extra straps and snap-on buttons. Also it has the cover in the camouflage color called Mitchell. Outside is green, inside is like brownish, cloudish pattern. Few words about the backpacks. Before I was running with the Arwen rucksack, which is definitely incorrect because it's too small, so Lurps did not use them. The most iconic and the most popular rucksack would be the lightweight rucksack, and be careful, they had 3 generations of them, so depend on the time that you're trying to reenact. You need to consider this information and choose the right one. However, I have this tropical rucksack, which is based on the Arwen rucksack, and they appeared in Vietnam in around 1968. This one is actually made in 1968 as well. Few words about the boots. The most popular boots during the Vietnam War were so-called third pattern boots with Vibram and Panama sole. This one is a Vibram sole boot made during the Vietnam War era, and it has a small stitching over here, while this one is post-war production Panama sole boot. And first Panama sole boots were in production since 1966. They appeared in Vietnam in around 1967. And also there is a thing about this stitching. Some people say that it's obligatory for the Vietnam era period boots. Some people say it's not. In reality, from what I know, that there were some boots produced without this stitching during the Vietnam War, and some companies keep production with the stitching even after Vietnam War. So basically, to have the stitching is better, but if you don't have it, it's not a big deal. Few words about firearms. The most popular were M16 and XM177 E1 with 10-inch barrel. Also sometimes they used grease guns. Sometimes they also used AKs. AKs were captured from the enemy. So I cannot tell you which models were definitely used and which not. However, according to the CIA report, North Vietnam was getting AKs since 1965 from Russia and China. The most popular AKs during the whole war were milled AKs, Chinese Type 56 and Type 56-1, Soviet AK Type 3 and AKS Type 3. Also I saw Soviet Type 1 and Soviet Type 2. Later on, Chinese stamped Type 56, Soviet AK-M, Romanian PM MD 63 and PM MD 65, Hungarian AMD 65, and even Czechoslovakian VZ58, which was technically not an AK, and it was not that popular because of the different magazine, which is not interchangeable with AKs. Now you see some pictures of the different AKs used by special forces, just to see the variety of the AKs. I chose the Romanian PM MD 65 because it's the only stamped underfolder that appears on the pictures more than once. They were captured since 1968 according to the pictures and CIA report. And also I saw one in the ranger's hands, which is also a good sign. Actually, this one is an LCT Airsoft AIMS, which I converted into the PMMD 65. I put some Soviet handguard on it instead of the dong, because a lot of guys did it. Also, I use it with Chinese sling, just because Chinese slings were more common and popular. Now, let's see how it all looks together. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you liked this video. Please comment, subscribe to my channel, and see you soon.
Beautiful friend.